Welcome, IDP Plus comrades. Welcome, Offensive Points Possum listeners. We have a special guest today, but before we get to that, let's talk about what we're going to be talking about today, and that is the rest of free agency news. Yes, the first week was wild and insane, but the following week and several days after were a little bit even a little crazier. So we have Mase, Cali King 49er17 on Twitter with us today to kind of break down some IDP, which we touch on, but we don't ever actually really go into depth because, we are the offensive points. But we also are going to touch on all the last minute moves. A lot of big names moved around the league, signed with new teams, kind of filled in some of those holes and some holes we didn't know existed or even were supposed to be filled. So here we are. Anyway, let's get over to Billy and Mace and see how we're doing today.
I'll let Mase go first. Mase, welcome to the program. No Joe this week, of course. He's out on a boondoggle, of course. Another week, another Joe disappearance. Yeah. Mase, how's it going?
I'm good, man. I'm happy that we could finally link up and get on a show. I don't know if I've actually been on an OP show before. Always been a Possum fan, though. Got it on the wall back here, got it on my computer. Met you guys at the expo. We raised a little cane. Not too much, though. Almost were we on the flag football team? We did damage there too. I think we got a little cheated, but such as that.
Man, we were running that B list side for a long time, and I was like, "Can we just go over and be back in this?" Like, I feel like we were trying to fight our way back to the top for a long time. But yeah, it was a good, I don't know, 5-6 wins in a row, and still didn't make it back.
So tired. I'm still sore from that stretch that we had there, man. I was not mentally or physically prepared for that, but hopefully the next time we run out there, I will be. But yeah, thanks for having me on, guys.
Mace, you kind of owned Expo Weekend. I forgot about that until we're talking just now. But I feel like you were everywhere. You were a mover and a shaker of the weekend, I feel.
Well, I don't know. I'm in like a niche of the fantasy football space, if you want to put it in that kind of box. So I kind of wanted to stand out. And one of my biggest fears is like going out and like talking about myself. So I don't know. I kind of wanted to try to overcome that and just be myself. And I didn't get any negative reaction at all. Everyone out there was really, really awesome. Like,
well, here's the thing: you say that, but you were the dude in the Jake Moody jersey.
okay, that's true. Yeah, no one called me, and I wore that in Cleveland, so I guess that's not too bad. There were probably a lot of people talking behind my back.
For a while, this last season, it looked really good. And I was like, man, he knew something. Jake Moody's that guy. And then I feel like at the end of the season, we're kind of like, ooh, Jake Moody.
It was that Cleveland week, man. He had a chance to get his game winner in the rain. They were playing against things like Dorian Thompson-Robinson was the quarterback that game. So it was just a rough one to kind of lose, stop the streak. But I think that loss kind of put the Niners like in check on notice. They came back out, had a good run. Moody finished, I think, with most of the extra points made. It's just a couple hiccups, but I mean, he's a rookie, man. What do you expect?
He was a record holder for about 5 minutes in the Super Bowl. For that field goal, he was the record holder for 5 whole minutes until it got broken again.
Yeah, Mace, I really appreciate you also sending that picture that I took of myself on your phone. I didn't know existed, and I was just like, how did he get this? And I was like, oh, I see, this is at the bar. Take a picture of me real quick, and it was on selfie. Of course I did it. I'm glad you still have that, though. That's nice that you just have that little memento of me.
Yeah, well, I've got an album of pictures. Well, not just of you, Josh, but of the entire team.
It's fine. It's fine.
I might have a spare Josh album, but I mean, we won't get into that.
There's also an OnlyFans on. Sorry.
Yeah, calm down, Josh. You don't need to talk about your OnlyFans, out here.
It's mostly feet.
You're going to get us in trouble from the higher ups. All right. Well, we're going to talk about the rest of free agency. If you want to hear most of our reactions to the first part of free agency that dropped last week, we did an episode last week, so go listen to that one. We're going to talk about pretty much anything that happened from Thursday of last week until now. So we're going to do the offensive part first, and then we'll get into it with Mace. So for the first part of our free agency reaction, Justin Fields gifted away for a 6th round pick to the Pittsburgh Steelers. What was your instant reaction when you read that?
I thought we already went over this last week. Oh wait, no, that was just me saying some stuff, being right about it. No, I mean this made the most sense. They don't have to pay Russell Wilson really anything this year. and then getting Justin Fields and kind of deciding what to do for the future. And this is literally going to be conducive of what they do as the future. One of these quarterbacks will be the QB at least for the next 3 years, I imagine. But honestly, the 6th round pick could be conditional to 4th round, which is more like they don't have to start Justin Fields right away. So I'm surprised the Bears let that like modifier get in there, because it's like they could start Russell Wilson up until that Justin Fields time, or if they're just losing, or if they just want to sit out the last game. Like there's so much they can do to just like keep that 4th round pick, which even a 4th for Justin Fields seems like a just complete steal. So it's pretty exciting for the Steelers. I mean, they haven't had a quarterback since Big Ben, and honestly, they didn't have a quarterback for a few years at the end of Big Ben. So it's been a good 6-7 years since they've had a quarterback who can do anything. So I think with the combination of these two, one of them is going to be good. I can't tell you who it's going to be. I don't know if Russ is over the hill yet. I don't know if Justin Fields actually has the it factor, but combined together, having both of them, I'd be pretty excited about it.
Mase, what was your thoughts?
WTF. I was really shocked about Chicago sending him for pennies on the dollar. I mean, they did invest a 1st round pick. He did fall to them, which is whatever, but did he really ever have adequate weapons, adequate line, anything? I mean, maybe he does hold on to the ball for too long, but he's a young player. He does have a lot of upside. Maybe it's just the fantasy guy in me speaking, but I don't know. I feel like they really dealt him short. But to be sent over to Pittsburgh, if Mike Tomlin wants to run a 2-quarterback offense, I know that hasn't gone over well in the past, but I don't know. I remember seeing Troy Smith and Alex Smith running a 2-quarterback offense for Mike Singletary, and they actually almost won a division that year, even though the team was fairly bad. But to be able to do something like that, I think they could possibly do that. The Steelers have options, and what are they paying Russell Wilson? $1.2 million this year, like Josh was saying. So, I mean, why not go ahead and do that? The weird thing is that Justin Fields, his payment option is next year, I think. So they're going to have to get a real nice warm and fuzzy on if they really want to have him next year, which is fine because they got him for pennies on the dollar.
Well, the condition is if he plays over 51% of the snaps, it goes from a 6th to a 4th, which would basically be if Russell Wilson gets hurt, I think. I did find it really odd that Russell Wilson welcomed him into the room. That's going to be so creepy. I feel bad for Justin Fields. He's not going to be able to get out of that. By the way, actually, this gives me a perfect chance to play my new button for Russell Wilson. Anytime that we talk about Russell Wilson, because Josh says that he is going to be at least better than QB 12 this year. Let's just play a little bit of Russell Wilson tape just to kind of get in audio audience. You'll kind of understand.
Hey, you want to split this Subway sandwich? It is my signature sandwich. It's called the Danger Witch, and it's dangerously good. Be careful, though. It's spicy.
So that's what Justin Fields has to look forward to this year. Russell Wilson and his Danger Witch sandwich. That should be exciting in Pittsburgh. Guys, I think this was a huge mistake for Pittsburgh, or not Pittsburgh, but the Chicago Bears. What are you doing? Giving away for a 6th round pick? I'm pretty sure Kenny Pickett went for a higher draft pick than that, and their ages aren't that different. I mean, Kenny Pickett's
it was a pick 3-4 swap, so it really wasn't that much. I mean, probably around the same amount of collateral, but
the Eagles wouldn't have just given a 6th round pick for Justin Fields. I mean, I know you don't want that in your locker room because anytime Hurts has a bad game, you have Fields chants from the stands. But honestly, who cares? Get the guy in there that's young, that you can develop, that you can give a chance to. I don't know. It makes sense.
I was kind of hoping for that to happen originally, but honestly, yeah, the weird dilemma that we already had last year, I don't want that to drag into this year. And if we have a guy like Fields behind him, I don't really need that. I personally don't think Fields is great by any means. He's great. He's great for fantasy. I feel like a lot of people see his fantasy numbers and man, that's a really good quarterback. Obviously, now with the additions that they've had and are probably going to continue to have, it could have been great. I mean, they could have grabbed Marvin Harrison, traded back, stocked up on capital, got a 1st round pick for the next couple of years, just kept doing this, pushing this down the line. Maybe they sign Justin Fields, maybe they don't. I mean, honestly, there was so many options for them. Obviously, we pretty much know at this point they're all in on Caleb Williams, but I don't know. To me, is what if you just kept Fields at that point? You're getting a 6th round pick for it next year. It's not even anything that you can utilize today. I would have just kept Justin Fields and just taken the L. You probably would have gotten a higher conditional pick than that. I don't know. It just seemed weird to just keep him on the team at that point. What if Caleb Williams goes down and then you're sitting with Mike Glennon or whoever the heck's backing up the Bears? I mean, Sure, Fields would be angry, but he'd at least be on the team still. I mean, have a backup, capable one.
That's true. I think Bears fans were their own worst enemies with this one because they glorified Fields so much for the past few years that, like, you can't just put him on the bench now with Caleb. But I don't see why they didn't just let Fields play out this year and then let him walk and then let Caleb come in. Don't know why why are we making that decision? But, oh well, 6th round pick, maybe 4th. I guess that's as good as it was going to get. But, man, that dried up quick on him. All right, well, let's move on from the Bears trading someone away to the Bears trading for someone. This one's really got to piss Justin Fields off, but the Chargers decided to trade Keenan Allen to the Bears to make the receiver room possibly Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and then if they add somebody at 9, it could be like Roma Dunze or something, which would be the best wide receiver core the Bears have had in I don't even know when, probably before we were born. But, Josh, what did you think about Keenan Allen, now a Bear?
It could hypothetically be the best receiving core in the NFL right now. Honestly, this with the Dunze, I'm not saying with Keenan Allen, DJ Moore combo. I actually hate this for fantasy purposes. I don't know what Caleb Williams is going to be. I think obviously he's going to be good in the future. Rookie quarterbacks don't usually go out there and throw for 4,000, 5,000 yards. So we're looking at like a 3,700 yard season. Hopefully, obviously there's a lot of mouths to feed. I think is the biggest issue. Got Swift on that team. This is looking like a fantasy powerhouse though. If Caleb Williams really is that dude, which I think we all think, pretty much assume he is at this point. More for next year, but at this point, like Keenan Allen and DJ Moore are going to cannibalize each other. Obviously, Keenan Allen's a little older at this point, so I don't know how long he'll actually be at this team. But Adunze would be my guy who I'd want in the future at this moment. DJ Moore, obviously exciting, but I feel like this year for DJ Moore, you got your hopes up from last year. Don't know how the new quarterback regime is going to take it. I feel like Keenan Allen's going to be the guy this year in redraft for sure.
Josh, be careful. He's wide receiver 6 in Dynasty. So
yeah,
relax.
that bet is going to continue going really well for me, by the way.
Just relax. Wide receiver 6. Sorry, Mase, what did you think about Keenan Allen?
I mean, Keenan Allen went to Caleb Williams Pro Day today, so that should probably tell you everything you need to hear. They're all in on that guy. They wanted him, and they shipped out Fields and said, all right, now we're going to go get this guy weapons, and we're not going to mess up like we did with Fields. So
it's just disappointing.
No, it is disappointing. And like Josh said, for fantasy, it's probably not the best. But, yeah, I don't know. Maybe you can play off the hype right now, and if you have Keenan Allen like a dynasty, maybe try to trade him off or something and get one like a draft
pick. Not a bad idea.
Something like that. So.
Yeah, I'm actually just really concerned about all the cast members at that point. Like Komet had value last year. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we know Moore had value. I mean, in the running back situation is such a weird committee at this point. Anyway, obviously, you think Swift's going to be the guy, but it's like he's a pass catching back, and now they have all these pass catchers in the room. It's like without Keenan Allen there, man, Swift smashed that button hard. Still, obviously, he's still going to be good, but it's going to be really interesting to see how this completely new team plays out. Obviously, Moore has the respect of the coaches, but it just all comes down to if Caleb wants to throw him the ball.
All right. Well, I have a couple questions to go with this. With the contingency that they were to draft a wide receiver at 9, how high would you feel comfortable in redraft taking Caleb Williams with this cast of characters?
I bet he goes really high, by the way, in redraft, like too high. Like 6.
How high would you take him?
6 to 8, yeah, probably.
Would you feel good about that, though?
Are you talking about round or QB level?
Let's just do QB number because
that makes more sense.
Different.
Yeah, I'd say like if I'm one of the last guys in a 10-man or even 12-man league, I'm cool with getting him at 9, 10 and comboing like him and Stafford or something like that. Like or 2 guys, him and Trevor Lawrence, like taking a risk on 2 guys instead of like, hey, I didn't invest in Lamar Jackson or I didn't invest in Josh Allen, but I'm going to get him and someone instead of the top 5 or top 6 guys. But I think he's going to go at number 7 or something though. Like after Burrow's gone, people are going to be like, Caleb Williams, new guy.
It's going to be hard not to think that. I'm definitely going to bait Joe into taking him earlier, so that will definitely be happening.
Someone's going to, for sure. It's going to be weird. I mean, obviously, I think you're pretty safe on the top 5, 6 at this point. Like, pretty much we know who those are going to be. But right after that, or maybe even before that, if someone doesn't feel comfortable with, I don't even know who the number 5 would be at this point, Herbert, Joe Burrow.
For sure. Okay, my second part to this is the Chargers side of the equation. I actually don't think they're going to take a wide receiver at number 5. I know that's been speculated about them taking Malik Neighbors possibly, but I think if anything, this off season has shown us that Harbaugh really cares about defense because they didn't let any of the defensive guys go. That's what we thought was going to happen was Khalil Mack was going to get cut, Derwin James. Like we thought they were going to like try to get Bosa possibly. Like we thought they were going to try to get those guys off. None of them. All of them stayed. And that lets me know because they traded away Keenan Allen and got rid of Mike Williams. I don't think Harbaugh cares about offense at all. I mean, you can speak to this, Mase, maybe as a Michigan empathizer because of the Jake Moody situation. But do you guys think that the Chargers are going to be an offensive dead zone next year? Because I believe that truly.
Their offensive coordinator is Greg Roman.
That is 100% the truth.
Well, they don't need a wide receiver then, right? Yeah, I don't really know what they're doing. They had to stack down and reload somehow. There are a lot of good wide receivers, though, deep in this class. So I don't know. Maybe they try to trade back, get all offensive linemen to fit in with Greg Roman's system, and then spend a couple later picks on wide receivers and try to pick up the pieces. Maybe Harbaugh's hoping that Herbert can just lead the troops, kind of like Mahomes did last year. Didn't really have anyone, can kind of just pick up the pieces and go on. I'm not saying that he can. I'm just saying maybe that's what they're thinking. I don't know. Either way, they need to get people in there, and there's not a lot of free agents I feel like left that are going to like just come in and make like a splash play. So they're gonna have to do it through the draft.
Yeah, I mean they're gonna draft a wide receiver at some point, whether it's the first pick or not. I mean, the second round is going to be pretty littered with wide receivers as well. My issue is with you just let Eckler go. Now, like if you didn't have a wide receiver and you had Austin Eckler, I'd be like, yeah, you're good, man. It's all good. Like the year Keenan Allen went down, I think it was pre Mike Williams being good. Or even being there. And Eckler was just having a baller season just because he was the only person on the team that could catch a ball, it seemed like. But now we're, Gus Edwards and Isaiah Spiller, who you never utilized for whatever reason for his first 3 years of football. And I don't get it. Maybe Isaiah Spiller could be the biggest winner out of all of this. But obviously, whatever rookie goes
Blake
here.
Corum.
Yeah. Like Corum being drafted. Well, if they draft a running back, which unfortunately they need, or I guess unfortunately they need, but like, wide receiver way bigger to me. I've seen Brock Bowers mock there, and I'm like, that's not it. They
want tight ends though at the same time, but at that point, like they don't really want a receiving tight end necessarily. They need a blocking tight end, which Brock Bowers is okay at, but he's not like ready to go in that department. So I don't know. I think this Chargers situation is going to be very fascinating, and I think taking any Charger like wide receiver high, even with Justin Herbert being there, is going to be foolish because I don't think they're going to be using them very much. Sadly, like I'm sad that that's how this has gone down.
I know it was disappointing last year for Quentin Johnston, but I mean, maybe they do have some faith in him as well. I mean, it was pretty disappointing last year, and Mase obviously drafted them in Dynasty League. But yeah,
yeah.
Also, I think couldn't catch a ball. It seemed he looked really bad. Like,
I just think 700 yards and like 3 or 4 touchdowns is probably the peak of a Chargers wide receiver going forward, and that saddens me quite a bit for fantasy. All right, let's move on. We'll get through these next ones kind of quickly. Those are just the 2 main stories. But Marquise Hollywood Brown decided to go to the Chiefs. We always mock and hope these wide receivers choose to go to the Chiefs, and we finally have one that does. Mase, are you going to take Hollywood Brown as the Chiefs wide receiver 1, or is it still blanked on his name?
It's not Rashee Rice because you can't even remember his name.
Yeah, obviously he's not a superstar yet, right? No, yeah, I think they're going to add another person in the group. Maybe at the end, I'm not really sure if someone's going to fall to him if they like. I just think that not that I've done a lot of drafts yet, but I think that the price of admission to get on the Marquise Brown fantasy train is going to be a little bit too high for me. So I don't know if I'll take him. He could be efficient. He could be a burner for them. But I think I would I don't know. I don't think I'm going to prioritize him in drafts.
I've seen Donnie Mitchell mocked to the Chiefs a lot in that 30-second slot. So that's a possible. And honestly, it'd be great if they actually did do this, although I'm surprised that, they didn't do this last year or somehow they won the Super Bowl without doing this. But this is great news for the Chiefs. And yeah, you're right. I'm not going to grab Marquise Brown because I live in Missouri and every single person and their mother became a Chiefs fan over the last 3 years. Not when the Rams moved, but whenever the Chiefs started winning. So yeah, the price tag is going to be too high, but I would like him on a team. I think he jumps into the number one role. Obviously, Rashee Rice was good, but he was never was he 800 yards last year. I mean, he did good, but not great, and he wasn't getting the targets enough to be really like a feature wide receiver one. Marquise Brown, we've seen it with, Kyler and backups. I mean, he's looked good. So I'd be more interested, especially in like the futures of Adonai Mitchell. But once again, whatever Chiefs receiver gets drafted there is probably going to go way too high at rookie drafts and dynasty too. So pick your poison. I mean, Chiefs are just going to be expensive until Mahomes is retired.
He'll be a feast and famine guy for sure. Sorry.
This is buy Rashee Rice season is what this is. This is all you needed to drive his price down a little bit so that you can buy in. Mahomes likes the guy. Mahomes trusts the guy. That's all you need to know. He does not know or trust Marquise Brown. They only signed him to a 1-year deal, so they're only doing a prove it deal as it is. I would just go ahead and buy Rashee Rice stock. He's going to be their long-term. Marquise Brown's going to be a nice pop receiver this year. I am interested to see what they do in the draft. I doubt they draft a wide receiver in the first round. I hope they do. I just doubt they do. They're going to get one in the second and third like they did with Rashee Rice and then continue on down the road. But, yeah, buy Rashee.
Yeah, I don't think Adonai Mitchell gets drafted. I agree with the first round pick not being a wide receiver, but that's just what I've seen mocked there a lot, which understandable, I guess. But that might have also been before the Marquise Brown trade too.
I also bet on them to take a cornerback in the first round, so fingers crossed on that cash.
Speaking into existence, Bill.
Yeah,
I'm trying to. None of what I have said or bet on so far has worked this offseason, so let's just have one thing work out for me. All right, on to one of the lesser known stories that happened is Alexander Mattison signed with the Raiders. Josh, does this matter at all?
It actually does, but not for fantasy purposes that you'd like Alexander Mattison. There's no resurgence of Alexander Mattison after last year. He had the clear job, even with the healthy Kirk Cousins, healthy Justin Jefferson. Well, I guess Justin Jefferson actually pretty much got injured immediately. He just never looked good. It wasn't it. And we all thought that, like, oh, he did good as Dalvin Cook's replacement for so many years. He just didn't do it last year. And this year, the only thing this does is cannibalize some of Zamir White's touches. And I hate it because I actually really was excited about Zamir White. He looked really good last year. Saved me in a couple leagues, actually. I think I got to the playoffs strictly because of Zamir White, or at least, won some clutch games at the end of the season. So I hate it for Zamir White, but, I mean, it makes sense. They're not going to feel comfortable rolling out a guy who's had limited I thought they'd attack it more in the draft, personally. I didn't think Madison going there. Just seems like a Raiders move, though.
That's fair. Anything you like about Madison, Mase?
No, I think it was just a depth move. I think they're going to bring in a young guy and challenge him for the RB2 spot. And it's Zamir White's job to lose.
I just want the Zamir White people to freak out just a little bit. Just like, oh, man,
they
this is
are
going to hurt us.
I'm sure somebody is like, oh, man, Madison was good. And
like that is a group chat you need to leave, by the way. If somebody out there in your group chat is like, dude, my Zamir White stock's dead because they signed Alexander Madison, get out. Just time to go. That is all you need to hear right there is that one sentence. So, yeah. Okay. We'll move on to Rondale Moore swapped for Desmond Ridder. One goes to Atlanta, one goes to Arizona. The Rondale Moore truthers out there cannot have loved this. But, Josh, is either of these guys, well, Desmond Ridder, no, but is Rondale Moore someone that you would buy more in Atlanta than you did in Arizona?
Yeah. Honestly, I think it's about even. Rondale Moore was pretty in middle of the pack, especially while he was, the wide receiver one at one point last season and seasons before. I'm actually pretty excited about Rondale Moore, but this does kill our Darnell Mooney take of Atlanta being the wide receiver two and no other option. So now it's like those two might have, an issue with each other. We might have 3 targets apiece for each of them, and neither one of them could be fantasy relevant if Drake London really is that dude. It's going to be weird. I mean, I love these teams getting 3 wide receivers. You don't actually see it that much anymore. It's usually a 1-2 and then no 3, i.e. the Eagles. But yeah, it's nice to see a third. I mean, I know these guys aren't superstars by any means, but these are both wide receiver twos, Rondale Moore and Darnell Mooney. And I love what they did for the Falcons. This team is in win now mentality right now. And I don't think they'll do it, but at least they're giving themselves a shot,
That's true. You like Rondale, Mace?
I mean, not really. He's not going to be a name that I target. If it's best ball, I'll take him later because, we've seen Kirk Cousins. He's definitely able to deliver the ball to 3 people. We had Addison, Osborne, and Jefferson that he's, delivering balls to. So maybe but they could also draft a guy too. I'm not really sure what the Falcons are going to do. So, yeah, I don't know. Best ball, sure, but
My only take of this wide receiver room in Atlanta is there's too many O's. There's 2 O's in London, 2 O's in Moore, and 2 O's in Mooney. Don't know what that means, but there's too many O's. Don't love it. That's my take.
They need some more X's instead of O's because when they draw those up for the plays, they're just like, oh, you're an O, you're an O, you're an O. We're all O's.
That's what you're supposed
Who's
to.
the wide receiver X? We don't know.
It's a terrible joke. I'm sorry. All right, on to our last story.
Hold on, real quick. Just want to touch on this because he did mention it. KJ Osborne. I've actually been watching to see where this guy goes. Speaking of the O's, and he mentioned his name in Minnesota. He's actually been a pretty phenomenal receiver for Minnesota, being buried on the depth chart. And he went to the Patriots yesterday, which is pretty interesting for a wide receiver room that has no wide receivers. He could easily at least manage that performance again, or be better if he's actually given the opportunity, because there's no real true cut wide receiver one on that team. So
one could say, Josh, that you might be a little biased to that name.
I don't know why. I was hoping he went to the Eagles, but it's fine because I was really looking forward to that jersey.
One could say that you just really like the name Osborne for some reason, and KJ has been in your life for what feels like forever now. So on to the last story. Mike Williams is officially a Jet. Joe believes that he should have been out of the NFL and into the XFL, but that's just not the way life works. So, Josh, are you excited at all about Mike Williams playing with Aaron Rodgers?
I'm actually really sad Joe's not here for this because I feel like it would have been so great. But honestly, yeah, I am excited about this. I know he's not like the 2021 version of Mike Williams that I guess the Chargers thought they were getting. But even 2022 and 2019, 2020, really what he was in the beginning of his career and after the big season, other than last year he got injured, you can't take that. Take that with a grain of salt. I like this a lot because they're like, hey, Rodgers, one last chance, man. If you want it, here it is. We got you another one. Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, Lazard's still out there running routes. If they added Brock Bowers, or I've seen them mock to adding a tight end or another wide receiver, this team could be scary. Brees is a great running back. We got what should be a good quarterback still. We'll see how the Achilles injury heals for him, but they're just going to bulk up that line in the draft more than likely, in my opinion. But I've seen people mocking Bowers to the Jets, and I think with Mike Will being there, it's probably out of the cards at this point.
Maybe.
I'm excited.
Like Mike
Williams.
Mase?
I mean, I've been a fan when he's healthy. I think he'll go there and do some damage this year. It'll be nice for Rodgers to kind of have, I guess, another form of like a security blanket and a veteran wide receiver that's good. It'll be good for Wilson. I think it'll just be good for all parties involved. The main thing is they just have to stay healthy. The entire offense needs to stay healthy. The line does. Aaron Rodgers does. Brees Hall has had previous injuries. Pretty much everyone but Garrett Wilson. So.
Sorry, I was muted there. I like Mike Williams. I don't love him, and that's kind of how his entire career has been. I'm more worried about Aaron Rodgers' health because I don't see how he comes back and is 100%. I'm more sad for Garrett Wilson because I really wanted him to be a potential top 12 wide receiver this year, and this just further hurts the chances of that for some reason. It shouldn't, but it's going to. I just know it.
I don't actually think it does. I mean, with the healthy Aaron Rodgers, I think Garrett Wilson's still clear-cut wide receiver one. I think Mike Williams is a wide receiver two. Like, I mean, there's the days of him being that elite guy is pretty much over. I mean, 800 yards is, probably what he's getting, maybe 1,000 if he gets a couple deep shots and whatnot. But I think
it's going to be gross.
I still remember getting Tyreek Hill because someone drafted Garrett Wilson number 3 overall before Aaron Rodgers' injury in a redraft last year, and that was just great.
Brutal. Well, I kept him as one of my keepers. Tanked my entire season doing that.
Well, that's just because your team sucks.
Well, I can't. I just assume that team's cursed. So whoever I keep this year, I'm sorry for ruining your career for 1 year. That's
let me trade him in Dynasty. Let me know who you're keeping this year so I can trade him in Dynasty, get him off my team.
Well, I'll give you a hint. It's probably going to be Garrett Wilson again because I'm too deep now. Yeah.
I've been there.
I'm too deep in it now. I can't throw him back after this because now he's going to pop off. All right. we'll move off of offense. I kind of want to get educated a little bit onto the IDP side of things. So what better way of doing that than just calling in an expert? And we called in Mase to come kind of teach us a little bit, kind of explain to us what were some of the best IDP moves this year. So Mase, without further ado, can you give us some of your best, and we'll comment on them as you're talking, but some of your best IDP moves of this offseason?
Yeah.
Floor is yours.
So when I was considering and picking people, even though I didn't really pick, I wrote like 3 pages of stuff. I had 5 keys to winning the free agency period from like a team standpoint. I feel like, did the team address their needs? Did they make quality signings? Does it financially fit in with the team and schematically? How does that team go about retaining their players? And then is the team stronger after the free agency period than it was before the free agency period? So as far as teams go, the winners that I had that came to my head were the Texans, Washington, and Pittsburgh. And then the losers were Falcons, Browns, and Cowboys.
Okay. So the Commanders obviously added a lot of pieces. Are you expecting good things from them this offseason? I know they have a plethora of signings if you want to.
Yeah, well, I mean, they have Adam Peters as their general manager. They got Austin Eckler. They've got some pieces to come in and fill in. They kind of shipped out Sam Howell to Seattle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So they have that QB1 spot open. They have the 3rd pick. Wait, no.
Hey, what do you mean QB1 spot open? They got Marcus Mariota, dude.
That's a boy. I forgot.
This is true.
Yeah, I just I like their moves. They got, let's see here, Armstrong, the defensive end from the Cowboys, who is with Dan Quinn or was with Dan Quinn, so he kind of knows the system. So that's kind of a sleeper guy. I mean, maybe not a sleeper, but a guy that you want to look into. Sorry. Oh, they got Bobby Wagner, Jeremy Chin, Noah I, only because I can't say his last name. He's a cornerback who was previously with Detroit. And then Michael Davis, another corner. So Jeremy Chin is going to be battling with Derek Forrest and then Percy Butler for safety spots. Jeremy Chin has been an IDP darling. Well, not in recent years, but I guess a couple years ago when he first got in the league for the Panthers, kind of that one of the first guys that was like the hybrid role, right? Safety, linebacker, can kind of do both. I mean, not one of the first ones, but you know what I mean. So I'm curious to see if he can get back on track. And then Bobby Wagner added to Jamin Davis and someone else who I'm forgetting their linebacker room. I don't know. I just think it's more of like a coming of age for them. They're finally cultivating. They're finally shifting. They shipped out Chase Young last year. They shipped out Montez Sweat. Cody Barton's gone. So I guess I'm just kind of like they're going to have a breath of fresh air this year.
I mean, I would say winner of free agency, but not winner of from last year to this year is my issue. Not the winner, but a winner. Because you lose Montez Sweat, you lose Chase Young, and then you bolster your linebacker depth. So, like, you're stopping the run better, maybe some zone coverages out there. Like, I really don't understand why they added Bobby Wagner and Luvu. I felt like that was just overkill. One of them would have been cool. Like, I love both of them as linebackers. Obviously, Wagner's like ageless wonder, like he's always going to be good. I can't say, oh, he's too old. Why did they sign him? Luvu's been phenomenal, and he didn't really come on until a couple of years ago. You got Jamin Davis, who like you invested a high stock in draft, and he's been fine. I mean, he's not like great or whatever, but like I feel like him as a 1-2 with one of these guys has been great. You have all 3, which is amazing. I think the linebacker room is amazing. The edge rushers is like you just shipped out 2 of the best in the league. I mean, Montez Sweat showed it in Chicago. I wasn't sure at the time that picked the right one, but it looked like they did. And then Dorrance Armstrong, Cleveland Farrell. I mean, it's fine, but it's not the same. And then the secondary is fine too.
Is Jamin Davis dead? Like, if you have Jamin Davis, is it time to panic, or is it like Bobby Wagner's only going to be here a couple of years? So
that's what I think. I think it's just going to be the Wagner show for a year, and I think that Wagner's here to show Davis like this is how it's done. And if he doesn't catch on, then they're just going to clear the room out.
I mean, as I say, you can't trade him, unfortunately. Who's going to buy him? So, I mean, you're just sitting on him. Hopefully, someone has a 4-year taxi squad that you can slap him on.
Well, and then with the draft class incoming, the linebackers, I don't really think that there's a guy that's going to go in the first round. So you're going to have guys trickle down maybe the 3rd or 4th round, and Washington could still pick up someone. So who knows?
Now, if you're in the linebacker,
sorry, go ahead.
I was just say if you're in the linebacker game, next year's draft is looking pretty confident, but this year's draft, woof. I mean, there's some guys I like. I mean, mom and daddy don't play. Peyton Wilson, love that guy. But I don't think there's anybody in this one that's going to be able to start, right away for your fantasy
Yeah,
team.
you're not getting any first rounders, but I mean, if added to the right room, you could get some value out of a rookie linebacker. It's just the only problem is the first linebacker in dynasty IDP drafts always goes way too early, like second round, and you're like, he wasn't even a first round pick. Like he should be in the third.
I'm excited, Josh. Next year, the top linebacker, at least going into the year for the draft, is going to be an Oklahoma player, and we haven't had a number one linebacker Oklahoma player. I guess Kenneth Murray technically, but I didn't count him as one, but should have him, and it's going to be exciting this year. Can't wait.
Career. All right, back to the Commanders. Their offense, though, I am very excited about, whether it's Drake May or Jaden Daniels. I mean, one of the two is going there and pretty much written at this point as it's written. But yeah, I mean, Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson combo, we touched on that last week. I'm personally looking forward to it. From a fantasy perspective, I think that both can have value, especially with a good team. We know the wide receiver room's good. They added Zach Ertz. I mean, this is a good room. And this offense, they're gonna add some noise. They're the third team in the NFC East that will actually be competing this year. If you're concerned of who the fourth is, you should probably start watching football.
Yep. I mean, Philly and Giants fighting for that third spot. Just kidding. Anyway, Mase, on to the next team on your list, or next player, whoever you want. You lead the show.
Yeah.
Whatever player you want to talk about, or team.
Okay. I want to talk about the Falcons defense. They invested a second-round pick in Troy Anderson, who doesn't play. They don't really have a lot of hitters aside from like Jesse Bates. He did have a really good year last year. But they got Caden Ellis and Nate Landman at linebacker. David Omenyata, Grady Jarrett, I guess, is all right. Zach Harrison on the outside, who is a later round pick. Actually, I think he's a third round pick. I don't really know what the direction is that they're going to go. I hope they get an edge rusher. I hope they get a linebacker. I thought they were going to get a veteran guy in there to kind of saddle up the room there, but they didn't. I think their secondary is fine, but I think now that people have tape on their secondary and they did decent last year, that I don't know, if they don't get help up front, they're just going to get tore up.
Did they add a single defender in free agency?
No.
Wow.
No. They got Kirk Cousins, Charlie Warner, Ray McLeod, like Niners, Mooney and Moore, like we talked about. That's it.
I mean, their defense was one of middle bottom of the pack. Like, it's not like it was good. I mean, like they weren't in if they were top 15 defense and you're like, yeah, these guys are young, they're getting better or whatever. Like Landman, sure, he had a good fantasy year, I should say, but I don't know, like production wise, like was he letting up a lot of plays? I couldn't tell you. I didn't try to watch the Falcons as much as possible last year. It's depressing. Every bet, any had anything had Bijan on, it was just depressing. So, yeah, I'm shocked that like a linebacker wasn't added. I assume they'll probably go edge in the draft at some point. Secondary's fine, I guess, but I really thought a veteran linebacker would have been good. Like adding a rookie to this, like even if it is one of the better ones of the second, third rounders, I don't think it makes the team any better. So. This is not a really strong early or a strong like depth defense class either. So I mean, you're not getting like a day one starter really.
I was going to ask Mase, since it's Raheem Morris that took over. He was with the Rams last season. He brings in Jimmy Lake, who is a assistant head coach with the Rams. Is there anything that we can take with what they did with the rookies last year on defense, which surprised the hell out of everyone? I think. Can we take anything from that and try to make it work for the Falcons in any way?
I mean, if they are, they're going to get fresh blood on the interior. I feel like that's kind of what the Rams did last year. They used a cultivation of defensive backs, and then they just had Ernest Jones, and then who's it, Roseboom, I think, is the other linebacker, and he's still there too. I think he just got re-signed. So, yeah, I'm not really sure. I think this is going to be more of like a figure it out, see what's going on, and then they're going to take some later round shots and try to work some guys in, see who sticks, see who doesn't. So
I mean, they're obviously going for the offense.
What's that?
So they're obviously going for the offense.
Yeah, no, 100%. They're getting that first.
It's just weird when a defensive-minded head coach comes into a completely offensive team. Like it's always weird when it works that way because I don't know how often that goes well. I just think of Brandon Staley when he came from the Rams to the Chargers, gets into an offensive team, and then that was a complete disaster. Now, Raheem Morris has been a coach before, so it's not his first rodeo. But same time, this is an offensive team, and the defense is going to need a lot of work. So I don't know. I never like when this is the case, to be honest.
I honestly think it's kind of smart to build their team that way because of the way that their division is right now. I feel like anyone can win that division, right? Like Tampa Bay has got to be the front runner. New Orleans. I mean,
how scary is that to say?
Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah,
I think it's a coin toss.
So if
I would not
55 every game, then they'll win, right?
I would not bet on any of these teams to win the division. Like, even if you're a truther or one of the fans, like, just please don't. Like, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
Well, it took the Tampa Bay Bucks until like the end of the season to even technically win the division. Like, that's how sketchy it was getting last season. This season, I don't think it's going to be much better, to be honest. But I don't know. Another year.
I mean, there's a chance that the Falcons' offense really does dominate, and that they got that going for them. But I just feel like with the lack of additions to defenses, it's just going to kind of wash out, turn into one of and that's the problem is with these high-powered teams. Like Minnesota has had good defenders. I mean, Danielle Hunter's been on the team for decades at this point, it feels like, and their defense really let up a lot of points because they were scoring so much. And it's like not adding any defensive weapons to this team, I feel like is going to be a catastrophe for the Falcons. Like, sure, you'll be scoring 25 points, 30 points a game. You're probably going to be giving up the same amount. So,
yeah, that's true. All right. Well, since we're just kind of bouncing all over the place, Mase, I kind of want to steer the ship into the Cincinnati safety room. So they added Von Bell back. Why did they do that? Because it seems like they have 2 or 3 good ones. So why add more confusion into the room? Was it a mistake letting them go in the first place? Or one of these guys not developing the way that they had hoped?
Honestly, I have no idea because they did both play. And they have Daxton Hill. They have
Jordan Battle, who they added last season.
I mean, Hill could switch over to nickelback and stuff. But still, yeah, like you just said, it's completely cluttered. Geno Stone as well. So just looking at the depth, I mean, I know the depth chart doesn't really matter right now, but they have Mike Hilton at nickelback. So you probably don't want to put Dax Hill there, right? Because Hilton's pretty good. So you got Geno Stone, Von Bell, Jordan Battle, Daxton Hill, and Tyson Anderson, RIP.
So of these guys, who should we be targeting in drafts this season for safety? Because I actually thought Daxton Hill and Jordan Battle's a rookie, so he didn't really get a chance. But I thought Daxton Hill was good, and I didn't mind having him as my second safety or flex play. Like, who out of this room now that those two guys are in should we be targeting?
I would still target Jordan Battle. That would probably be the only one. I think they'll be using probably all of these guys in different ways. But I think Battle is the best bang in the box guy. I mean, I guess Von Bell's pretty good at that too, but Battle's younger, I don't know, more dynasty play, I guess. But in redraft, I'm not going to touch any of these guys until, I mean, at least if I'm drafting right now, because there's just not enough information.
Man,
yeah, I don't love it. I was really hoping for this Battle to be as good as, he can be basically, but then adding more safeties is just kind of like one, sure, whatever, depth, maybe a second starter or whatever, but adding 2 is weird personally.
It's like the Bears running back room last season. It's like, thanks, just put more in there so we can't do anything with it. But I don't know. I just wanted to ask about that.
Where did Foreman sign? He just signed somewhere.
Oh, it
Browns.
Was with Browns.
Yeah, I guess that actually makes sense if Chubb's not healthy right off the bat.
Yeah, he could be the Dearness Johnson this year. Okay, sorry, Mase, continue on. I just wanted to ask about that because I remembered I needed to ask.
No, you're good. I like what the Texans are doing. The whole turnaround with D'Amico Ryans, the year 1 was, holy cow, man. If you got a ticket on that ride, you're pretty happy about that, right? And then they kind of double down, get my personal favorite linebacker in the league, Azeez Al-Shaair, who showed out as a Tennessee Titan on a mercenary contract, got a multi-year deal. They had Danielle Hunter, who I might be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure he's like top 3 in getting the guy opposite of him sacks in the league. So that really helps Will Anderson, who's already the defensive rookie of the year, right? And then they stuff the middle with Danico Autry and Fatu Kanzi from the Jaguars. I think they're going to add another. I think they're going to add another interior defensive lineman in the draft. I'm not certain of how many picks they have or where they're at. So I don't know. I like what they're doing with the moves that they're making. Oh, also Jeff Okuda or the ghost of him. We'll see what happens with that.
Oh, yeah, we'll see what happens.
I feel like he's still really raw. I mean, he was on the Lions during the transition years, and then went to Atlanta and was fine. I think Jeff Okuda on a defense like this can be pretty great. I mean, I don't think he's going to be a star corner of the year or anything like that, but I think that with a team defense like this is defensive one, and like the D line, linebackers, and just as a whole, and even depth. Like, I mean, they have depth on this team, so it is just going to be like Barnett went there too last year. I mean, I know he's not great, but he's a good depth piece, and he always has been. So
Al-Shaair is about to feast this year. When he was with D'Amico in San Francisco, I mean, Mase, I don't have to tell you, you're a San Francisco fan, but like now that they're reconnected, like I can't even imagine. Like it's gonna be great. Yeah. No,
I'm worried about the guys on the outside of them. They got Christian Harris.
Yeah.
I don't know if they actually believe in him. And then Tua, who was really spotty off and on last year. So I think they're going to add another guy because, like we were talking about, linebackers are definitely sliding down the draft board fairly easily these days. So
I have a lot of Henry Toyo stock, so I'm hoping that eventually us early investors, eventually it'll pay off. But when Al-Shaair got there, I was like, that can't be good. Back to the special teams you go.
We've seen two good linebackers on a team before. It's not out of
I know, but I think
question.
Christian Harris is going to get the first crack, and then if that doesn't work, then there's going to be Toyo, which sucks because I thought this was just going to be.
I feel like there were flashes last year, and there was a pretty heavy linebacker.
Oh, I liked him.
They had a weird rotation last year. They had a lot of guys.
Yeah, it did.
Like Cashman.
Wait, Cashman got paid,
right? Wasn't it Perryman too?
Perryman, Cashman, Toyo, and what's his face?
Christian Harris.
Christian Harris. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna steer some way because I'm actually very curious to see what you think about my team, Philadelphia Eagles. I think you guys, if you've listened here before and you've heard my voice, you probably heard me say it 6 or 7 times, even in this pod. But no, honestly, Mason, I'm interested to see what you think of their signings. Take it away.
Okay, so my favorite one was Devin White. I like that you guys went out and got a linebacker, former first rounder. He can put pressure on. And I'm not really sure what happened last year in Tampa Bay. I don't know, but I know the kind of player that he can be, and I know the kind of linebackers that you guys had last year. And I'm sure that you're probably equally as happy, if not probably more over the moon than I was when he got signed.
I mean, big playmaker, which is what I love about him. Sacks and fumbles and interceptions alike.
Yep. I was trading for him everywhere. I was trying to right before he signed because I figured he was going to go somewhere. And I was hoping, not hoping for my Niners, but hoping for IDP-wise, there was either going to be like you guys or maybe the Cowboys.
A lot of people don't like Devin White anymore, and I don't understand why. He had one bad year, and it wasn't even really that bad fantasy production-wise.
Yeah, it's left a bad taste in people's mouth, I guess. And then the whole whatever happened last year, holding out, realizing it wasn't going to work, and then just kind of the fallout of it. I'm just glad that he's elsewhere. CJ Gardner-Johnson, that's great. I think for you guys, he's ready to run it back, do some business. That's good. IDP, though, I'm not really sure. I'm not sure if you guys are going to put him at safety or at nickel. I know you guys got Sidney Brown, Blankenship, and then who else? No, that's it. Okay.
No, that's it pretty much. Yeah, I think he played a little bit of both. Like I think they rotated. We did get rid of Avonte Maddox, which I still feel like might re-sign to the Eagles again. He's just had an injury. He was a great nickel corner when he's healthy, but I don't know what they're going to do really. Sidney Brown was playing that slot role, but I think he's too small to play the slot role. So. But yeah, I mean, honestly, Sidney Brown kind of kills his stock a little bit, I would say. CJ Gardner-Johnson, also a big play guy. Really happy to see us sign people for one, the gaps that we had, and then number two, the big play guys as well. And then depth-wise, Oren Burks, Zach Vaughn, both just linebacker depth. I don't think there's anything you've seen Oren Burks play in San Francisco. But Bryce Huff, that's my real question. This edge situation in general, what do you feel about Bryce Huff, though?
I like Bryce Huff. I don't think he was like a product of the system or anything, but I don't think that he was worth, 20-something million a year, 17 million a year? That's a lot just for the amount of heads that you guys have in that room, right? Because you got Josh Sweat, who you guys just redid stuff with. Let's see, Hassan Riddick, Brandon Graham.
He's still on the team, sort of.
Yeah. Nolan Smith. So I'm not sure what's happening with him. And then it really hurts those linebacker signings. Hurt my boy Ben Van Sumeren. Love that guy. I was really hoping that he would pan out. I hope he still sticks on with special teams. That guy's electric, man. But yeah, no, I like your guys' signings, and I think that you guys are just going to have a boatload of guys that are going 600 to 800 snaps on the outside, keeping people fresh. I think it's smart.
I would love to have depth in general because that's one thing we lacked last year. But honestly, I personally might be the only person that thought this. I saw a lot of people on Twitter, Eagles fans alike, rejoicing in the streets when we signed Bryce Huff, and I was like, why is that our goal? I honestly, I would have rather had us just restructure Reddick's contract. I understand he wants more money, but we could have restructured and kicked the can down the road till next year. Sweat, I feel like, isn't worth the money that he would have been, for a re-signing. Huff, we just throw this money at a guy who's a 1-year guy. And I might be wrong. I mean, I heard he had really good pass rate and everything, but he split carries the whole year, which is what the Eagles do. So we rotate anyway. So, I mean, I feel like max, we're looking at a 10-sack performance, and that's fine. But it seemed of fixing a problem that wasn't a problem. I know we love signing too many pass rushers to a team, but I don't know. I wasn't sold on Huff personally.
I think it just makes way for Jalen Carter season, even more, just because there's so much more of a threat on the outside. And then you guys obviously have Jordan Davis to stuff the run, big giant man that he is. So
yeah, I'm
you
looking forward to that.
Really set up.
All right, cool. Good. Just good to hear someone else talk about it. I don't know. I feel like Nolan Smith is supposed to be Hassan Reddick light, basically, and we're just burying him further, especially if Reddick plays this year for the Eagles, which doesn't seem likely.
Josh, I'm proud of you for waiting 47 minutes into the podcast to talk about the Eagles.
You're welcome. I actually almost interrupted 3 or 4 times.
I fully was prepared for you to barge in out of nowhere and talk about them. So I'm glad that you held and had some restraint. Okay, let's move on to with the Eagles. I was about to say, how many more players do you have on the team? Jesus Christ.
We're talking about special teams.
Let's talk about the Parker. Hold on.
Third on the depth chart guy. All right. I do want to talk about the Bills a little bit. They got rid of Micah Hyde. They got rid of Jordan Poyer. They got rid of Tre'Davious White. And then I saw today that they signed Mike Edwards from the Chiefs. They have Taylor Rapp there. They have DeMar Hamlin there. And they have Kendall Williamson. Of the people in the room that are there currently, who should we be after? And should this be a team that in the draft, whoever gets drafted there, we should just assume that might be a guy that's going to get a lot of play time this year?
Yeah, maybe. I'm interested to see what happens with Matt Milano. The emergence of Terrell Bernard last year, at least for fantasy reasons, was very well. So I know that's good. They also added ex-Eagle Nicholas Morrow. So, whatever. Mike Edwards is nice, but I'm not sure if they're going to have Taylor Rapp be the main safety. Maybe they target a guy in the draft. I know there's also 5 or 6 guys that have been rotational players around the league for years that are still free agents as well, so they could be signed. I don't know. I guess the real question lies at the cornerback position, I guess, if you're going to do true position. They could take a guy like a Cooper DeJean maybe, or whoever falls, if Kool-Aid falls or something.
That would be electric if it was Cooper DeJean.
Right, because he can kind of flip both, right? He can play safety or
exactly.
he can kind of do. So it really just depends on where they want to put him. Yeah, I'm not really sure what they're doing. I think they're kind of just playing coy right now. But if I were to try to get anyone, it would probably be Matt Milano, just because people either forgot about him in Dynasty or they're just like, oh, he's injured, whatever. So you might be able to get him for cheap. Greg Rousseau. If you need a defensive tackle true position, Ed Oliver is always good too. So.
Yeah, I feel like with Dotson vacating, who was pretty much Milano's replacement last year, who looked really good. Honestly, I'd go get some stocks of him. He's in Seattle now if you can.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think Milano really does have that chance to be what everyone thought he would be and what he has been in the past. So, he's going to jump right back into it. Honestly, just how disappointing if you're a Buffalo Bill fan, dude. You keep losing to the Chiefs or someone else in the championship or close enough to the championship, and then you just don't do anything in free agency. You met Mitch Trubisky back, cool, because Josh Allen misses 1 game a year, right. And then Nick Morrow, a backup linebacker who didn't work for Philly. I don't get what their plan was here.
Yeah. They got Curtis Samuel, but they also lost Gabe Davis, so I'm not sure if they're going to try to get another wide receiver.
And they got Mac Hollins too. If we're going to really go through their list, but come on,
True.
Man. The wide receiver, to be fair, the wide receiver market, free agent wise, was pretty terrible. But you're telling me they couldn't have gotten Rondale Moore and flip something for that. I
They
mean,
couldn't have gotten Keenan Allen.
fair. I mean, people were.
I
these
mean,
wide receiver
their window-
trades were cheap.
Their window is open. Like, well, I mean, you could argue it might be closed. I can't wait till we do the team by team preview because the Bills window might have already closed, which is just insane to think with Josh Allen. But I mean, why not? Why are they not making moves to make the team better? I don't understand what.
Mike Williams was
thought
a free
process
agent
is.
for how long too? I mean, could have just outright signed him.
There's got to be something. I know Stephon Diggs has kind of hinted at it through the last couple of years about like not liking Josh Allen. There's got to be something there. I don't know what it is, but there's got to be something. Why wouldn't players be lining up to go play with him? Doesn't make any sense.
He slings the ball downfield, man. Like you'd think that it would work for like some of these guys. Be like, I want to join that team. I want to be on the team. Like, especially some of the guys later in their career who like looking for those like late career stats. Like you're getting those targets. I mean, Gabe Davis only caught 50% of the balls that were thrown to him. I mean, you could literally catch 60% of the passes to you, and you'd be an improvement. Sure, you'd have to get touchdowns too, but you know.
It's the Antonio Brown curse, man.
I just feel bad for Bills fans, man. I've always liked Josh Allen. I think he's a pretty great quarterback, but I feel like he's been essentially doing it on his own. I mean, they have a running back finally, and they're semi-using him. But like wide receiver wise, it's like they got Diggs, and that was it. And then they're like, yeah, we're good now. We're good. That's it.
Kincaid's had flashes, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, the tight end room's pretty good, honestly. If I'm being completely honest, like that's not.
Who was the
that's
guy
not
that came on late? Isaiah something, right?
Andy Isabella?
I just dropped the show.
Oh, he's not on the team anymore.
No, I'm talking about
Julio Shakir? Oh, Hardy.
Nope.
Khalil Shakir?
There you go, Shakir. I don't know why I thought
you said Isaiah.
I think
So
I'm saying Isaiah McKenzie, but that guy's not on the team. No, Shakir was all right last season.
That's fair.
I mean, towards the end, I don't know. It's dark times in Buffalo, but whatever.
It's always dark
anyway.
times in Buffalo.
Mace, on to maybe a happier topic. Do you have another team or
team.
player that you want to talk about?
Yeah, Tampa Bay added safety Jordan Whitehead, who used to be on the team, and they used Jordan Whitehead as a pressure, not like a pressure monster, but 8 to 12 pressures a year, generated a couple sacks. With Antoine Winfield being there, I'm not sure if that just means that both of them are going to be playing, because Winfield can play deep end in the box, obviously, right? And I feel like if they're going to use Whitehead in that kind of capacity where they can just split the field, and depending on what's going on, they can move guys up or down. Is that going to affect Winfield's IDP stock? No, that's just something that I've considered, just because of points wise, big plays, things like that.
No, I think you make a good point there, though, that maybe it does affect things. I don't know. I've never even gotten Winfield because he usually gets taken before I get a chance anyway. So I can't speak as somebody who's had him on my team in the past, but he does eat. He does get points. Like, I am a big fan. I do love his Super Bowl thing where he did the peace sign in Tyreek Hill's face. I mean, I'll never forget that. That was an awesome moment.
The thing about Winfield is last year was an outlier. He's always been good, but like he was phenomenal last year. So everyone was like, he's amazing. You're never going to be able to draft him for normal stock again. And he's probably going to go right back to him and Devin White. Like, he honestly just took all of Devin White's big plays last year. That was what happened. Devin White had always been that like sack, force fumble kind of guy. Winfield took over that. They were both blitzing at the same time. He was just on the inside. He was on the outside. Winfield got the sack. I mean, it was just over and over again. Winfield made the play instead of Devin White last year. But I mean, this year without Devin White there, I mean, I assume he'll still be good, but it's just like, it's hard to bank on the big plays for these guys. Like, if you look at his tackles, which is what his normal day-to-day options are going to be. Sure, there were some big ones, 10, 16s, but there's still going to be 3s and 4s in there. And you're going to be like okay days without you take away the interceptions and stuff. He's just a normal safety. I mean, the big plays are what are amazing, but like you can't bank on it. It's like Trayvon Diggs. You're not banking on an interception every game, pick 6 every game. I mean, obviously, he had pick 6.
That's true. So Mace, who takes over for Devin White, or who do you expect? Is it going to be KJ Britt or somebody else?
I honestly don't even know what
Diaby.
How do you say?
I mean, he's a pass rusher.
Diaby.
I just love his name. I honestly, I have no idea.
Well, that's fine. He he is a pass rusher. I don't know who's going to take
Rough.
the inside linebacker role because they don't really have a good one on the roster. Not that I want to defame KJ Britt, but I don't think he is necessarily a good fill-in. So is that something we should be looking forward in the draft?
I mean, if they do add someone, then yeah, I'm definitely gonna try to highlight them in the draft. I don't know if that means that they're just gonna run in there and start taking stuff up. They do still have Levante David, so that would probably be the guy that I would take
That's
at least
true.
this year. I'm not sure if they bring someone else in to be beside him, but KJ Britt did play a decent amount, and then who's that? Servalka Dennis did as well last year. So that might be a camp battle to watch. But yeah, definitely murky waters for the LB2 there.
I'm just trying to identify the teams that, like, when they draft a player in a position, like, I feel like my alarm bells need to go off. And I feel like linebacker with them, safety with the Bills, like.
Well, okay, so with that mindset, that's what I was thinking last year for the Lions. The Lions move up, right? And then they get
Jack Campbell.
Thank you. And then they start Barnes over them. And then even now they paid Anzalone. So now are they going to start Barnes this year because they still have him?
Well, I mean, the thing is that was confusing when it happened. It's kind of like the Jets with Will McDonald. Like, why?
Yeah,
why did you? Why you don't need him? So why did you take him? It's kind of like that when they took Jack Campbell. I'm like, what are you all doing? You don't need Jack Campbell in the first round, too, mind you. That was strange. But yeah, I guess by your point there that, like, just because they even draft a linebacker doesn't even necessarily mean that guy's gonna be on the team. Defense is so weird like this. This is like one thing about IDP that's like kind of frustrating is like they draft a player in the first round or even the second round, and that player might not play for like 4 years. And it's like, but why? Like,
but the price to acquire is going to equally stay as high because of the investment on an NFL level. And yeah, you're right. Insanely frustrating. You trying to trade for Campbell right now, and he's still going to be worth a first-round pick in IDP.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, honestly, though, I think second round, you're going to see a linebacker go to this team. They got to replace Devin White's prospects. I mean, whether it's Peyton Wilson or Edgerrin Cooper, Jeremiah Trotter, Cedric Gray, there's options out there for inside linebacker that are, not start right away. Maybe they kind of swap off with KJ Britt, kind of a Jack Campbell situation. But I can see one of those guys going there for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of
because honestly, there's not a lot of holes on the Buccaneers. They're a pretty good team overall. Like if you really look at the spread of their team,
for the most part, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One guy.
No, I was just saying, yeah, their roster is built really well. Surprisingly, because you thought once they lost Brady that this team was going to be headed for disaster, but
Baker said
actually. Who would have thought, right? I mean, we all sold him.
You should have. You should have.
I know.
You gave up.
Gosh, okay. I had to watch him go embarrass himself with the Panthers. Not his fault, by the way, but still embarrass himself there. And then go to the Rams, and it looked like, oh, well, this is your send-off. It was adorable having you out here, and I thought that was going to be it. But
that 98-yard drive.
I bought a jersey that night. I bought a jersey that night, Mase. As soon as I saw that 98-yard drive,
he said he wasn't going to buy one. He said
you can ask my wife. We were out at Anheuser-Busch Brewery, and we were watching that on my phone, and I was like, "All right, I'm buying a jersey. This is it. Can't not." I knew he wasn't going to go back there either. I knew it was only for like 6 games, but whatever.
I'm gonna rapid fire a couple guys here, if you guys don't mind.
Sure.
Just kind of get through them. Okay. Denzel Perryman is added to the Chargers linebacker core. They have Henley, who they drafted, Nick Neiman, who was in rotation last year, and Troy Dye. Kenneth Murray left, so I'm not really sure what they're going to do. So I guess if you want to kind of get a team like we were talking about just a couple minutes ago, that if they take someone, your spidey senses go off. Chargers definitely. Baltimore lost Queen. Patrick Queen went to the Steelers, which bumped down Cole Holcomb to LB2. I'm not really sure what the status of him and his injury is.
No, it doesn't. Queen is an LB2. He never was a linebacker one.
I think he's going there to try to prove that he is that guy. I think
but Roquan is the reason he got a contract. He basically was like every once in a while was just like, yeah, man, you go ahead and tackle him. I'm good.
And that's why my next guy, Trenton Simpson, he's definitely going to be a name to watch and redraft. A lot of people forget about him, but he's filling in for Queen. So, like you were just saying, to have Roquan next to you is amazing. We saw the kind of numbers that Queen put up, and that was even with him missing stuff. So shooting the wrong gaps, missing assignments, stuff like that. So nice name to watch. Jordan Hicks, still alive, kicking. Might even get the green dot in Cleveland. Moved there, LBQ there, maybe. I don't know.
All he does is put up numbers, that Jordan Hicks. All he does, everywhere he goes, doesn't matter. Nobody's ever going to give him a long-term contract, but boy, is he going to put up some numbers wherever he goes.
He got 2 years, though, which was pretty good for a 31-year-old and for what he's been doing.
I'm proud of him because he's been on like 1 year, it feels like, for like 5 years.
Sure, like, thank God. That's funny. Okay, Jordan Brooks, Miami linebacker now. So it's him and – oh my gosh, I'm losing my mind right now. Him and – who's the other linebacker there? I had it written down. I forgot. I'm sorry.
No, I'm thinking of edge rushers. They have so many edge rushers, I can't even think of who their other linebackers are.
David Long?
Yes, thank you. Okay, they're going to be going
and Anthony Walker.
Yeah, okay. I feel like he was more of like a depth signing, though, but Jordan Brooks had the amazing recovery from his injury last year. I know a lot of people were thinking that he wasn't even going to be back until the middle of the year. He showed up early, and he showed out. So last guy I want to talk about just for a second, Jalen Mills for the Giants, fills in the Xavier McKinney role, maybe, coming over from the Patriots, I believe. Not sure if he's going to be in that box safety role, if he really is there just to, I guess, kind of fill out the roster. So just a name to watch.
I mean, honestly,
I got two I want to ask you about. Yes, got in just before Josh. Boom. Brian Burns, now on the Giants. Is he going to be as effective there as he was with the Panthers because of what their situation is with
was
many
he?
players?
I was going to say, yeah. I mean, he's got Thibodeau on the other side, so I think he's going to be all right. And he's going to finally put up at least 8 to 12 sacks. He's going to be in. He's worth the price of admission, I guess, if you can get him, or if you already have him. I wouldn't ship him out. I would much rather keep him than not. But I think
what keeps Brian Burns' value is his tackles. I mean, even with 12 sacks as his max career, I mean, 8-9 is pretty much his average, but I mean, he's still getting 50, 60 tackles. That's what matters. So he'll be valuable still. I mean, it's just not going to be like, we're not going to get that 20 sack season. And not to mention the Panthers are getting thrown against as much as the Giants will be. So, I mean, really, I feel like it's pretty lateral for Burns. If anything, he's got a better person on the other side.
I mean, the Panthers just give this year after year master classes on how not to run a franchise and how to get the least amount of draft capital back for yours.
It's easily the worst football franchise going right now. Like the owner sucks. The GM, it makes confusing move after confusing move. Well, actually, it's not even the GM's fault. The owner's the one that wants it done. So, I mean, you can't really blame the GM.
Oh, dude, yeah, that sucks. Yeah, I don't know what they're doing. So, let's see.
For sure. Josh, do you want to chime in, or I've got two more I want to talk about?
No, I don't have anything. I was actually just going to agree with Jalen Mills. I didn't understand that signing. He's just he's an okay corner. That was all I was going to say. Right. I wasn't going to steal your thunder, Billy.
I want to go to Denver real quick. The Broncos did sign Cody Barton, but I was kind of excited when they drafted Drew Sanders last season. Is this a situation where Drew Sanders is going to get a chance at some point this season, or is it Cody Barton season and Drew Sanders is going to have to sit on another taxi squad for another season?
You know, I wish they would at least put Drew Sanders on the edge if they're not going to put him in at linebacker, man, because they
could do that.
They have holes there. So I'm not sure if maybe they try to do like a hybrid kind of deal where they can pull him back and some stuff and keep him on the line. That's what I would do, but I don't know. It sucks. Yeah, he's on my list of guys that took a bump down, I think, just because they do have Singleton. He was a tackle monster. He's in on a lot of the plays. And then Cody Barton coming over to just, I guess, solidify the LB2. It's just, it's tough because they also used Jonas Griffin at linebacker as well. So I really don't know what they're doing with Drew Sanders.
Yeah, I mean, there's room on the edge. You know what I mean? None of the edge rushers are, like, elite by any means. So, like, you'd think that, like, throw him out there, see what he can do. Put Singleton on the edge, put Cody Barton on the edge, get some sacks out of it all. Like, I mean, you got 3 what should be good linebackers. I mean, Sanders was the most highly coveted linebacker out of the draft last year. One of, at least.
Yeah, one of. I think it's just because of his hybrid skill set. I mean, they got Barrett Browning out there, but I thought that Sanders would eventually take the torch or move to that position.
Man, I just feel like this team's going to be a dumpster fire for years to come.
It's just like, especially with the QB situation. But I don't know. I don't know what their plan is. And Like, as much as I like guys, like, I think they should have tried to trade like Nick Benito or something just to try to get some more draft capital, because they're not even going to use Benito, I don't think, this year, which he was a pretty solid player last season. All right, last one I want to talk about is in New Orleans. They signed both Chase Young and Willie Gay, both guys that are kind of looking to be reclamation projects. Do you see either of these guys finally being dependent IDP players?
Chase Young has to get surgery before he even steps on the field again. So I'm
Yikes.
out on him, and it's a 1-year deal, $13 million fully guaranteed. I don't know how he got that off, but I mean, good for him. Where to get the bag?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like that news came out right after he signed the deal.
Oh yeah, by the way, the Saints reportedly knew about it, so I don't know. I mean, I guess it's just the upside, like what he couldn't be. But I don't know. I've always liked Sweat more when they were in Washington, and then on the Niners last year, I don't know. I just didn't see it. I didn't see that number 3 overall pick. You know what I mean? Like, we got Nick Bosa on one side, he's number 2. You're right after him, and you don't have that same. You know what I mean? So yeah,
this was always a pro Sweat podcast. And Willie Gay, do you think yes or no?
I do like him. I don't know if he's going to be efficient for fantasy purposes, but having him next to Demario Davis and Warner, I think definitely helps them a lot. But I don't know if I'm going to be targeting him in the fantasy.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of find it hard to imagine doing that as well. Saints are just a weird team, man. Like, they signed Derek Carr to a deal where it's like, guys, Derek Carr is not it. But if you think you're one player away, I guess. And then, like, signing Chase Young to be the starting defensive end, and it's like, guys, come on now. Like, could have traded a second for Brian Burns. Well, I guess I was in the division, so I probably wouldn't have done it. But I mean, to think you could have had that and you went out and spent $13 million on Chase Young's kind of wild to me.
Well, and they have Granderson on the outside. They drafted Brian Brees in the first round, right, last year, and didn't really do much. He's kind of just like a depth guy maybe now. Maybe he tries to fight for it. I'm not really sure what they've got going on in the interior. So, yeah, a lot of question marks. And then they drafted Jay Kaner, who looks like Derek Carr's stunt double on the field. So he's like the same exact product. So, yeah, I don't know. But that division, who knows?
All right, Josh, that's all I had. Do you have anything else?
No, I think we touched on pretty much everyone I was interested in.
Okay, cool. I think, Mase, that he only prepared Philadelphia questions and didn't.
Oh, did you see that Brendan Mann signed a contract with the Eagles? He's the punter again. It was nice to see. We signed both kickers.
Thank you for adding that in. We couldn't have gone this whole podcast without that.
We don't ever talk about punters. They do all the work.
That's true. We actually are in a punter league. It is interesting. I never understand really who's a good one, who's a bad one. But the scoring is kind of bizarre, and feels like it never will not be bizarre. All right, Mase. Thank you for coming on this week. We appreciate all of the insight. We didn't even get to ask you about players like Eric Kendricks. Like, I am a big Eric Kendricks guy, and I didn't even get to ask you about him.
I was for about 3 hours until he switched from the Niners to Dallas. So
yeah, that was kind of a sad time. I'm sure that was like oh well, thanks guys, thanks. That was
we got Devondre Campbell, so it's all right afterwards.
It was the Frank Gore situation. It was always great. He played for the Eagles for all of 3 minutes.
Love that. Remember those times. Who was the other guy? He signed from the chart. Ryan Matthews. Didn't he do that?
Yeah, Ryan Matthews and D'Amico Ryans is who we ended up with that year, which was just a weird year. D'Amico Ryans, I swear, just was like a cowboy, a spy, and came to our team and did absolutely nothing. And then he did fine on the next team, wherever he went. I can't remember.
Well, now he's a fantastic coach for Houston, potentially going to a Super Bowl. Stay tuned for that one, by the way. I can't wait. All right. Anyway, thank you, Mase, for coming on. Follow Mase at CaliKing49er17 on Twitter. Believe me, any IDP news that you out there, he's going to be talking about it. Josh, you have any last words?
Usually I do, but honestly, I don't this time. So it's just we'll just leave it at that. I think I'm out of punter news, unfortunately.
Love that. All right. Well, Josh, since Joe's not here, get us out of here.
Good night.
Thank you for watching this IDP Guys video. If you like this content and you want more fantasy football content, click here. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos to help you master your IDP league, click here to subscribe.